it's Deb. Welcome to my channel. Hey, welcome back to my channel where I talk about my millennial perspective on life and motherhood. Today I'm super excited to bring you a topic that I don't think is talked about enough, and that is postpartum recovery and/or the fourth trimester. So if you're excited about this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, ding that notification bell. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So when I was preparing to give birth, postpartum was something that I knew next to nothing about. I was worried about what it would be like, what to expect, what I should have on hand. Would it be the end of the world? Would it not be a big deal and I'd be wanting to have kids again? There are just so many unknowns when you go into something like that, along with having the new baby, learning how to breastfeed. It's just so much to tackle. And so I went and looked on YouTube, but I didn't really find much content. I did find a great video from Olivia Zappo. I'll go ahead and link that down below. But besides her content, I really didn't find much that was just a real honest look at postpartum. I know it's something that can be uncomfortable for people to talk about, but it's really important that we talk about things like this. If you can imagine going into a knee surgery, for example, and no one tells you what the recovery looks like, there's no physical therapy afterwards, you're just basically kicked to the curb 24 hours after and you just have to figure it out. I mean, that would be laughable, but that's basically what postpartum care is like in the United States. As a matter of fact, when I was researching about postpartum care, the United States postpartum care is some of the worst in all of the developed countries. We have next to no physical therapy that's given to us. It's almost mandatory in other countries that 6 weeks after you go to a physical therapist to make sure that all of your muscles are returning back to the way they're supposed to be. That you don't have problems in the bedroom, that you don't have problems when you're trying to use the restroom. I mean, there's so many things that our pelvic floor and all of the areas that recover during postpartum control that we just really don't talk about. So I really hope that I can help you or somebody that you know. Please share this video with anybody that you may know that's going to be going through postpartum, because it can be hard, but if you're prepared, it doesn't have to be hard. And it will help you to be able to focus on other things, like enjoying the sweet babe you just worked so hard to bring into the world. So now that I'm off my soapbox, let's go ahead and jump into the video. So I had 56 hours of labor. If you haven't watched my birth story, I'll link it up in the eye. It's a doozy, so I would definitely go take a watch. But I was in labor for 56 hours. I pushed for about 45 minutes, and then I had Hadley on June 13th at 4:47 p.m. I had a second-degree tear, a midline tear, which instead of it being in multiple spots, it was just one straight area. And I also had an epidural. So that's basically a shortened version of how I came out of labor. So I'm going to really break this video down into two sections. I'm going to break it down into what to expect for the first 48 hours, and then products that I love, my holy grail items that I would highly recommend that you invest in before you go and give birth. So let's jump into the first section, the first 48 hours. So I'll start as soon as Hadley was born. So this is my experience. It's not the same at every hospital, but I would say generally that it will follow some sort of flow similar to this. So I gave birth to Hadley shortly after I delivered my placenta. I was worried about it, but there's no need to be worried about it. Majority of the time, it's going to be something you honestly don't even notice, especially after you've just had a baby. The placenta, it's no big deal. So you have the placenta, and then after you have the placenta, they will go ahead and they'll assess you, make sure that the placenta looks intact, and they'll go ahead and stitch you up. I did have to get stitches. I had an epidural, so I didn't have to have any pain medication. You may have pain medication if you decide to go natural, but that's totally up to you and your doctor, so make sure that you plan for that if you're not wanting to do an epidural. So after they went ahead and stitched me up, they went on to the next step and they took out the epidural. What I did was I knew that it was going to be a little bit before I transitioned from pain management of an epidural over to what I would be using for postpartum. So I went ahead and topped up my epidural right before they took it out. That way I would have pain management for the longest period of time. One thing that I found throughout my first 48 hours with postpartum recovery is that if you are aggressive with your pain management and if you are aggressive with making sure that you are focusing on yourself and healing yourself, the more you're going to be able to enjoy your baby and the more you're going to overall have a good experience. So don't be afraid to really be aggressive and really ask for the things you need and to do it before you start hurting, so that way you're not miserable and not enjoying those amazing hours that you have that are just one of a kind and just out of this world, honestly, that you'll have with your baby. So after all of the main things were taken care of, epidural, stitches, all of that type stuff, we were able to do skin to skin. Our family came in eventually, met the baby, and we kind of had a few hours to kind of recover until we were officially considered postpartum. So in our hospital, there are actually 2 rooms. You have the room where you deliver, and then you have the postpartum room. The postpartum room was a lot smaller, and that's something that I've heard feedback. It's more of a traditional hospital room versus the labor and delivery room, which was made to hold quite a few people. So one of the things that I had heard whenever I was hearing about pain management is that they give you ibuprofen. Now you think ibuprofen is not going to be able to, help you get through the pain, but honestly, that was all I really needed. But I made sure to ask right away for my ibuprofen. The hospital has a schedule. For example, at my hospital, they like to give it 2 times a day at 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. I had Hadley on 4:47 p.m. So by the time they took my epidural out, it was going to be a few hours before I was going to get my dose of ibuprofen. So I made sure that they brought mine early so that way I could go ahead and take mine. Don't wait and accommodate their schedule. Make sure that you are accommodated and that you get what you need. So I asked for my ibuprofen right away because I didn't want to be in between pain management for several hours and be in pain while I was trying to do skin to skin and talk to my family for the first time in many hours. And then the last thing they had us do before we transitioned over into our postpartum room was the nurse got me up for the first time, walked me to the bathroom, taught me how to take care of myself, showed me all of the tools I'd be using, which I will talk about in the second part of the video, and went ahead and got me in the wheelchair and wheeled me over to get used to my second room. So the pain management they had available in our hospital, you could take ibuprofen twice a day. There was 800 milligrams of that. You could take Percocet as needed. I really didn't want to take anything that strong unless it was really necessary. So I only ended up taking 1 or 2 of those pills and then didn't take any the rest of the time I was recovering. So I would say, know your pain levels. I knew that I could most likely handle it on just ibuprofen, especially after the labor I had just gone through. So I went on just ibuprofen, but you may want to try a Percocet at first to help you ease out of that transition and kind of ease into the recovery process because those stitches are going to be a bit sore. They will also give you a stool softener, which will help whenever you have to use the restroom for the first time. That's not really something to worry about. People really freaked me out about that. It's really no need to freak out about that. You just go into the bathroom, you let it happen. It's not the end of the world and you'll be fine. So please don't fret about that. I think people just unnecessarily caution you because maybe it was difficult for them, but I really feel like the postpartum recovery was better than I was thinking it was going to be because I'd heard all of these horror stories. But make sure you take your stool softener 2 times a day. And then they also have you take a prenatal if you are breastfeeding. I was not aware that I'd need to bring a prenatal, so they gave me one in the hospital. I wish I would have brought mine because theirs was this nasty big horse pill. So make sure you bring your prenatal if you are going to go ahead and be breastfeeding. Another thing they do that I was warned about, that I was terrified of, that ended up not being a big deal, was the massage they do. I'm not sure the medical term, but they basically make sure that your uterus is shrinking back down to its normal size and that you're getting all of the excess fluids out, you're getting all of that blood out, you're clotting properly, and that everything's kind of shrinking back to normal. And so they come in and they will massage your stomach periodically throughout that first 24 hours especially. And then if you stay longer, as long as you're in the hospital, they'll come occasionally and check you. Again, it really felt like some mild cramps at most, especially if you're good on your ibuprofen. I would make sure that when they were coming in that I wasn't right about to be switching between doses and taking another one. So that was, again, not something to worry about, but do know that they will be coming in to make sure, and they will be pushing on your stomach and making sure that your uterus is shrinking back to its normal size. So when it comes to the IV, I had an IV in my hand. I can actually still see the spot where my IV was. But they told me that they wanted me to leave the IV in because they were going to take fluids out of it, but I couldn't shower until my IV was taken out. So I had to wait an additional 24 hours after I gave birth to take a shower. When I look back, I wish I would have just insisted they took it out because they came in and they got blood, and they ended up getting blood out of my left arm, and they wouldn't take it out of my hand. So you may not be able to shower right away. really go shower. It makes you feel like a normal person again. I would shower. I would do whatever routine makes you feel normal. I like putting on makeup because it just makes me feel like a human. So put on makeup if that's your jam. If doing your hair is your thing, do your hair. I mean, just do something normal. It will really help to kind of balance yourself and just make you feel like you're just normal again, which is nice because after all the whirlwind, that's something that you'll be craving. I know at least I was. And then one last thing pertaining to IVs, they pump a lot of fluids in you, especially if you get an epidural. So make sure you are aware that your feet will swell more than they were swollen previously. So I didn't have a lot of swelling. So my feet only got a little bit bigger, but people who have already had swollen feet, your feet may get twice as big. So I would really recommend bringing some shoes that you can really fit into that are not tight. I brought moccasins just by chance. I brought some slipper moccasins, and those were my saving grace, especially because I ended up not leaving the hospital for a week. But I definitely had swelling. Even though I didn't swell at all during pregnancy, I had swelling postpartum. So make sure you know that if you are given a lot of fluids, you're probably going to swell. It's not a big deal. Just try to prop your feet up. That really helps to get rid of that swelling. So that's all I'll dive into right now for the first 48 hours. Overall, I would say that it's completely manageable. Stay on top of your pain management. Make sure that you're prepared. Make sure that you do the research, and you'll be totally fine. If this is something you're interested in me diving more into and doing a 2-week postpartum update and kind of what to expect during those first 2 weeks, go ahead and leave a comment down below. I'd be really happy to dive into things like when to stop using all of your products, when I saw my stitches come out, different things like that. If there's a need for that, I'd be more than happy to go into detail about that. Go ahead and leave a comment below. Okay, so let's now go into number 2, which is the things that you need, my holy grail items. So there are some things that hospitals will provide. Honestly, it's very confusing to know what they'll provide. You may be able to call them and ask for a list. I did not do that, so I made sure to bring things that I thought I might need, and then if they had it at the hospital, great. If they didn't, I was prepared. My mantra here, be over prepared. After you've had that baby, you and your spouse, your significant other, whoever you're there with, are not going to want to leave and go run to the store and grab something. So be over prepared. If it costs an extra $5, you have that item. It is worth it to invest in yourself. Self-care is so important at the beginning. It will make or break your first few weeks with a newborn. So please make sure that you go ahead and you get whatever you think you might need for the postpartum period, and don't just rely on the hospital. So I'll start with the hospital items that they gave me. The first one is this Peri bottle. So the Peri bottle is infamous in postpartum. I've seen jokes that say having a baby is like getting in a car accident and then they hand you a squirt bottle and they say, good luck. I mean, that's really what it's like. So right after you give birth, even if you don't tear, they're going to want you to use this Peri bottle. It helps to clean you off. It helps to make sure that, you're not using toilet paper, that you keep the area clean. This right here is so important to keep yourself from getting an infection. So they gave this to me at the hospital. The Frida brand makes one of these called the Mom Washer. I decided not to get that. They didn't have it local and I didn't think that I'd need it. Honestly, this worked fine, but you may want to get that one. The only difference is that the nozzle is actually pointed, so it may be a little easier for you to use, but you'll just use this with some warm water, and that's what you use every time you go to the bathroom. I'm definitely keeping this, and I will use it. Again, I'll get another one from the hospital, and that way I'll have multiples. It's just kind of nice, especially when you're going out for the first couple of times, to have one at home and one in your bag. So the next most important thing they give you, I don't actually have, but they give you mesh underwear. So mesh underwear, there's really two clubs. There's team I love mesh underwear and team I hate mesh underwear. I really didn't fall into either. They weren't my favorite. They weren't my least favorite, but they are pretty comfortable. They are super stretchy. They went over my stomach well. I definitely would try the mesh underwear. They are very comfortable, and trust me, you'll want something especially on your stomach. I didn't think about this. I was always worried about, my downstairs being sore, but your stomach is sore. I mean, that's a lot of work for those muscles in your stomach whenever they're going through all those contractions. So it is nice to have something that's really soft and something that's not tight over your stomach. So you will definitely get some mesh underwear at your hospital as well. And then the other thing they give you at the hospital that I also don't have are the perineal cooling pads. They're like ice packs. You pop them and you stick them in the mesh underwear, and they really help to keep everything cool. This helps with the swelling. I use these religiously, and I think that's one of the reasons why my postpartum recovery went so well at the beginning, especially with me having to be sleeping on hard surfaces when Hadley went into the NICU. I was still using these, and it really helped me to keep everything under control and to keep my swelling down. So I definitely would make sure that you use these every single time you're going to the bathroom, that you're grabbing one of these. You should be going about every 4 hours to make sure that you're keeping yourself clean and redoing the whole routine, changing everything out, using your peri bottle. So definitely grab a lot of those ice packs and don't be afraid to ask for more. So the next item that you'll use that the hospital will most likely give you when you're using the restroom are witch hazel pads. I actually ran out of the ones that the hospital had, so I have these. These are called the Tucks, but they're basically the same principle. I can open them up. They're just round, cooled pads. They smell super funky, but they are pretty comfortable. So this is something that they will give you at the hospital. Again, don't be afraid to ask for more. I actually went ahead and picked up some of my own because I wasn't sure if they'd had them, and I was very happy that I did, because when I ran out, I already had some that I could dip into. These are great for other uses too, so even if you don't use all of them, these are great to use. My one complaint with these is it's very difficult because they're round when you actually put them in the mesh underwear and you're actually going ahead. Somebody called it putting tomatoes on a Subway sandwich, and I died laughing, and I can never unthink that. Whenever you go in and you do your whole routine, you'll take the mesh underwear, then you'll take a perineal pad and you'll put that down, you'll crack it, make sure it's cold. Then you'll take these and you use 3 of them and you put them down like tomatoes on a Subway sandwich, and then you use the last step, which I'm about to talk about, and that's kind of the whole process at the beginning. So this is definitely something I would pick up, but I would try to find if they have any that are rectangular instead of the circles, because these tend to move around a lot and sometimes it's hard to get them exactly where you want them to be. And then the last thing that the hospital provided for me was this Dermaplast spray. This was amazing. I actually did buy the Earth Mama version of this, the perineal spray, and I didn't even use it. This stuff, I still have half a can left, and I use this religiously. The Earth Mama spray, I've heard mixed reviews about. I honestly would just get this. I probably won't even pull out the Earth Mama spray the next time I'm going through all of this, but this Dermaplast, definitely pick this up. I've seen mixed reviews about people getting this when I've been talking about postpartum with other mamas. Sometimes they didn't have this in the hospital, so this is definitely something I would pick up. It helps so much. It again helps with that cooling, helps with relieving pain. It just really helps to give you another way to tackle the pain, and if you come at it from all sides, it makes it a lot more manageable. So one of the biggest things I bought for myself that was not what the hospital provided was diapers. So this was something that I thought was comical, but I thought, you know what, I'm gonna try it. People swear by these, and I understand why they do. So these are the Always Discreet diapers. I'll actually show you. They make them, they're this pink, they're stretchy on the top, they have different patterns, and they have a light fragrance to them. Guys, these are so worth it. I mean, I would seriously pick up some of these. You can find these at Walmart, is the best place that I found them in terms of pricing. I actually went through quite a few of these. I wasn't quite sure how many that I would need. I dealt with a lot of incontinence problems, just something that some moms deal with. And so I actually wore these for quite a while until I was able to get that under control. But I would definitely pick up some of these. These are wonderful. I would transition out of the mesh underwear into these. What I did was, as I started to transition and started to wean myself off of everything, I took a smaller dose of ibuprofen. I started taking away different pieces of the whole routine. I started with taking away the ice pack, and then taking away the witch hazel pads, and then switching from the mesh underwear to these. I also weaned off of the Dermaplast spray and then weaned down into a pad. So this was the other thing I bought. After you have gone through your postpartum for a while, this is going to be unnecessary, and so I have these pads. These are the Kotex brand, and these are the longer ones. I would recommend these. The longer ones are great. You have to use these. You cannot use tampons, so I definitely would use something like this, or whatever brand you're comfortable with. Get something that's thinner if you haven't really purchased pads before, or you haven't used them in a long time. Word to the wise, get something that's thinner. It'll just feel more comfortable, and it won't feel like you have such a large pad, honestly, on. That's especially something that was a negative for the perineal cooling pack, was that sucker was like, I mean, it was like this thick, so it felt like I was sitting on a brick. So definitely try to find slim items. Also, whenever you transition to these, you'll obviously need to buy underwear. I would buy specific underwear. I would go and I'd get the biggest size of granny panties. I personally did not like anything cutting into my stomach, so I went to Walmart and I got some underwear there that were high rise. And so I would definitely go, and I will link some high rise underwear down below in the comments section that I recommend, but I would definitely use those in collaboration with these as you continue to wean off of everything. So a few things that I wish I would have brought that I actually didn't bring into the hospital. I wish I would have brought my own ibuprofen. They did give you 800 milligram tablets that we went and got filled the prescription. They also gave us a prescription for stool softener, but I would just go ahead and have your own ibuprofen with you. It's just nice to have it, and if you get discharged from the hospital, it's going to be a little bit before you're able to go get everything filled, and so if you already have some on hand, that will be great, so make sure you pick up some of those. I mentioned before, make sure you bring your own prenatal vitamins. I did not bring mine. Even if you toss them in a baggie, or if you have one of the Monday through Sunday little pull tab, that's what I keep them in my bedside table. But you could bring that, but I would definitely bring your own prenatals. If you do use a gummy prenatal, I use this. So gummy prenatals do not have iron in them, so you have to supplement with iron. Talk to your doctor about this, but this is what I ended up doing. This is the off-brand, or this is a private label brand from Target, the Simply Balanced Iron. What I really liked about this was it had fruit and vegetables in it, because iron can make you constipated, and the way to fight against that is fiber, and so this actually has fiber in it. And I noticed a difference at the beginning of my pregnancy when I was using these with the gummies versus using the all-in-one prenatal pill. So I would definitely get some of these if you're doing the gummies. I do the Ollie gummies. I'll link those below as well. Those are amazing. I did try the Hello Bello gummies. I wasn't a fan. I really like the citrus taste that the Ollie ones have. And then along with your underwear, you're going to want to make sure you have something comfortable. People swore that you would not want to wear pants for weeks after you gave birth. I really didn't have that problem. I brought one pair of backup pants and one dress because I wasn't sure what I'd want, and I honestly wished I would have brought more pants. So I would definitely bring some sort of leggings that are comfortable. There's a brand called Balbay that makes postpartum recovery leggings. They're made by a physical therapist. I would definitely recommend those. I've heard super great things about those. I have their nursing bras and they are to die for. So I would definitely check out their brand. They are a little pricey, but it's definitely worth it. I also had some pajama pants that I got from Target, and I loved those. They were super comfortable. I sized up so that way they would fit over my postpartum tummy, and I wore those for several weeks, especially around the NICU. That's a good thing to pick up as well. And then one last honorable mention for this video is the Frida brand. After I gave birth, probably about 6 to 8 weeks, whenever I stopped using all of my products, the Frida brand came out with their Frida Mom Kit, and it looks amazing. I will definitely be picking up one of these for my next time around. They actually have a kit that includes almost everything that I've talked about today. I'll go ahead and link that down below as well. I would love to know if any of you moms pick up one. If you like it, let me know. It includes sprays, it includes underwear, cooling pads, witch hazel, the mom washer peri bottle that they have. So it's an amazing kit, and I will definitely be gifting it to any first-time moms that I know, because it's nice to have everything in one place. They even come with a labor kit if you want, and you can even get a nursing and delivery gown. So that's an awesome product. I'm really excited that there are more companies that are embracing this postpartum period, because it really I mean, it's something that people need to talk about. So I definitely am very proud of this brand, and just shout out to them for addressing this issue and providing something for moms to use. I hope this content was helpful for you. If it was, go ahead and subscribe, like this video, leave me a comment if you have questions at all. If you want to talk to me privately, you can find me over on Instagram. I've got my Instagram down in the description. You can send me a DM. I'd be more than happy to chat with you about any questions you may have about postpartum. You can do it. I believe in you. And if one person believes in you, that's all you need in this world. You're made for this, and I know you're going to do a great job. Thanks so much. Catch you in the next one.